Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going full dive into the Retribution Paladin class to show you the best builds with runes, rotation, buffs, macros, consumables and some tricks only paladins can do in World of Warcraft Season of Discovery Phase 2. We start with talents. For talents you can either go 0-0-31 for PvP with Repentance or 1-0-30 for PvE if you only want to raid. For talents we start off 5 points into Benediction for the reduced mana cost on our spells, 2 points in improved Judgment to decrease the cooldown of our Judgment spell, 3 points into improved Seal of the Crusader for 15% increased holy damage after judging this. If you know you can't judge Seal of the Crusader in your raid setup, you can put these points either into Blessing of Might or Deflection. I prefer the setup here. Next we go 5 points into Conviction for 5% more crit, 1 point in Seal of Command, 2 points in Pursuit of Justice for 8% movement speed increase. This allows us to get another enchantment on our boots. Now you have the choice between either 2 more points in Blessing of Might if you don't go improved Seal of the Crusader, which gives you 5 points here. If you don't want to PvP, you can put those points here, for example, or into Deflection. If you're going to do PvP, you go eye for an eye here, because it's a nice to have feature. Next, 3 points in two-handed weapon specialization, this just boosts our damage, and 1 point in Sanctity Aura. You can put the last point where you want to, for example Vindication, Deflection or improved Blessing of Might. After this we go 5 points in Vengeance, and now if you want to do PvP you go 1 point in Repentance here, or if you are not going to do PvP, only PvE, you can put 1 point in Divine Strength here for 2% more strength. Okay, now for runes. On the chest rune we go Divine Storm. Seal of Martyrdom is not that good at the moment. Divine Storm gives us more damage overall and AoE damage. With the Art of War buff we don't have mana issues anymore and we can't Seal Twist into Seal of Martyrdom, so Divine Storm is just a better option here. On hands we go Crusader Strike. On waist we go Chef of Light. This is a great damage increase for us. On legs we go Exorcist for PvE or Avenger's Shield for PvP. On some fights you need the interrupt, so you swap your Exorcist for Rebuke, but Exorcist will be our main rune here. And on feet we go Art of War. This got recently buffed and it reduces the mana cost of our Holy Shock and Exorcism by 80%. This solves our mana issue and it gives us a great damage increase. Every time you crit now, your cooldown of Holy Shock and Exorcism will be resetted and the mana cost is reduced for it. So this is our main build for PvE. For the rotation, we start the fight with Seal of the Crusader or Seal of Wisdom. This depends on your raid setup. We start the fight with first Judgment of the Crusader, activating Seal of Command, Exorcism to let it profit from crit resets, Crusader Strike. If you get a crit here, you use Exorcism again, Divine Storm. If you get a crit here, you use Exorcism again, Judgment of Crusader, and if you get a crit here, you Exorcism again. And if you have time after this and all your abilities are on cooldown, you do a Seal Twist. You can find my Seal Twisting guide here. So it looks like this. And here we go Seal Twist. If you can, judge right now, otherwise use your abilities. Try to have Seal of Command up all the time and look for your Exorcism resets to always use it. Our PvP rotation is quite situational, but it looks like something like this. We start with Seal of Command, use Avenger's Shield, go back on two-hand, Crusader Strike, Divine Storm, Stun, Judgment, reapply Seal of Command, Crusader Strike, and you can do a seal twist for example now. That's the basic rotation. Don't forget to use Repentance to give yourself some time to heal, to close a gap or to interrupt casts, and always combine Judgment of Command with your stuns. Make sure to use Blessing of Freedom for yourself or other classes to not get kited. I suggest to use Avenger's Shield, Rune, on legs instead of Exorcism for a ranged slow attack, which is really strong. Use Sacred Shield or Guarded by the Light on feet in this case. You skip the Exorcism part in our basic rotation. You can use these two macro options for Avenger's Shield. The first option here works really well when you're out of combat. It basically equips your one-handed shield, casts a spell, and equips your two-hand weapon back, as you can see. But this macro is a bit clunky when you are in combat. So for in combat, you use this version of it. With this version, we skip the part with the two-hand equipment. You can just spam the macro and cast it and bind your two-hand weapon on another binding, and you re-equip your weapon with it. Next, for buffs. Which buffs do we want to use? This is a tricky question and it depends on your raid setup. If your tank has no problem holding aggro, you can go a combination of Blessing of Might on minis, for hunters only use it on melee hunters, and Blessing of Wisdom on casters and ranged hunters. If your tank can't hold aggro, use Blessing of Salvation on your raid and maybe Wisdom on healers. Communicate with your raid here what they need most. You should use Pally Power as a paladin and bind a quick buff key to buff. You can find my Pally Power tutorial here. Next, some neat paladin tricks and my cancel macro. There are some things only paladins can do. You can utilize your Divine Shield to remove stacks. For example, from the last boss from Numerican. Simply pop your Divine Shield and use a cancel macro to remove it in an instant afterwards to not lose attack speed. Every paladin should use this macro and bind it to a key. It looks like this. As you can see, you write /Cancelaura Divine Shield, and you also put a Cancelaura Blessing of Protection in, because if you are in a PvP situation, you can use it on yourself and simply remove it afterwards to let you attack again. Also remember as a paladin to always use your flexibility. Remember you have the Rebuke rune to kick, you have Divine Sacrifice rune to reduce raid damage. We are a supportive class and we should use our strengths here. Communicate with your raid what they need most. Next, to Mouseover Macros. You can make your life easier with Mouseover Macros. With this, you cast on the target your mouse is hovering over. If you have no target, you can cast on yourself. Adjust the following macro for your paladin spells: Holy Light, Blessing of Protection, Purify, Flash of Light, Lay on Hand and Turn Undead. The basic macro looks like this. So for example, in game you just put your spell name here and put it again here, and with this you can hovercast other players or yourself in raid or just by hovering over them. I will post the macros in the description down below so you can copy it. Those macros make a lot of difference in PvE and PvP because it gives you important seconds to react in rough situations. Next, to consumables. For raid consumables you use Elixir of Ogre Strength, Elixir of Agility and Dragon Breath Chili. Also use your Blessing of Might on yourself if your tank can hold aggro properly. For world buffs we want Sachi's Dark Fortune of Damage and Spark of Inspiration. We also want a Feral Druid in our group for Wild Strike's Wind Fury effect and leader of the pack. So some last words. Paladins need some buffs in phase 2. The high armor from bosses in Numerican are a problem for all melee classes right now. Our damage is a mix of holy damage and melee damage as Retribution. Our Retribution tree is sadly missing some good talents in it, and we did not receive good enough runes to compensate that. But we can hope for some adjustments right now. We still bring one of the best raid supports with strong buffs and Lay on Hands, which can save a raid from a whole wipe. I also think Shockadin has a lot of potential for the future. I will also do a deep dive into the Shockadin build as soon as I have the gear for it. Right now I'm not able to test it out enough to give viable information about it. Enjoy raiding my fellow paladins, stay positive, enjoy the game, and consider to like and subscribe for more World of Warcraft Season of Discovery content.